Hey there, folks. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy, and I'd appreciate it if you'd be willing to check out my sponsor, Dubby at G.I.G, for their energy drink products. They're more of like a powder that you can put into water that can be used to replace buying carbonated energy drinks and sodas. My favorite that they have is the Dragonade. I like it a lot. I'm probably going to get more of it soon. But if you're just trying to dip your toes in, they do have a sampler bundle that you can get that comes with a tumbler that you can use for mixing your drinks. You can go on over to w.gg or the link down in the description and use the code THEGIG, the gig, in order to get a 10% discount. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Hey there, folks. Andre, the Game Idea Guy here. So there's a bait post going around on Twitter that many people have reacted to, and then that has spawned off many other reactions and twists and turns around this particular subject. And you read the title, you know what I'm talking about. And as a gamer, I've heard this many times myself, and other people have heard things like this. But there's a post going around saying that women find gaming highly unattractive. Now, this post, if I remember correctly, the post itself was bait because the post was made by a TikToker. Like, there's a chart that was made by a TikToker who saw, I believe, a poll that was made in Utah, if I remember correctly. So there was a poll made in Utah that the polls are disgustingly hard to read. But they just did a series of minor polls, and it was somewhere posted on Instagram. I don't remember all the details. I don't remember if it's Utah or Arizona. I know it's from a singular state. I can say that much. And then a TikToker used this as bait to enrage people. And then someone found this bait and took it to Twitter to use to enrage people, because the poll is nondescript. It doesn't tell you who was polled, where the polling was done, how long of a period the polling was done for, or the amount of people who were polled. It just says the poll, and obviously the poll is women's opinion. But that's where it stops. So when I looked at it, I was like, this is definitely bait. This is bait. There's no two ways about this, because there's no scientific method applied anywhere here. So this is definitely bait. And the bait worked. The bait worked, because you see the conversations that are popping up everywhere, and dudes getting mad like, well, if you don't like my hobby, why are you worried about it? Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. Leave me the hell alone. And then women, oh, you're so focused on those video games. You're not paying me any attention. You're not listening to what I'm telling you. You don't see what's going on. And then there are people back and forth. There are dudes arguing for the women. There are women arguing for the dudes. Everybody's going back and forth on this, but I'm sitting here looking at the clear path down the middle of this that no one is taking. No one. I haven't seen one person throughout all of this BS argument, all this BS argumentation. Not one person have I seen go down the middle path here. Because it's always the assumption that the guy is putting too much time into gaming, putting too much time into their hobby, or just you're a loser because gaming is a hobby. I mean, I guess anything entertaining would make you a loser if it's a hobby. If you enjoy listening to music and it doesn't benefit you in any way other than making you happy, you're a loser. That's a stupid ass argument. Just put that out there. Then the other side, well, leave me alone, let me have my fun. Or, well, if you don't like it, you don't have to be with me. Well, which is true, but let's not be extreme.
There was another one, I can't remember, and it sounded dumb to me. To be honest, it sounded dumb. I can't remember what it was, though. It was that stupid, I didn't log it in my mind. Listen, people. One, there has to be a balance to everything. Someone may need a lot of time with gaming because different games require different things. For instance, if somebody's playing a story-driven game that is an RPG or an RTS, they are very likely to play that game for long hours because it requires that you spend a good amount of time just to clear one thing. Heck, even with visual novels, that can be true. Has anyone sat through trying to do one chapter of Ace Attorney? You sit through doing one chapter of Ace Attorney, that's about an hour itself. Even longer if you don't know where you're supposed to go. So, and honestly, when it comes down to this, I don't even think that the poll should be focused solely on men. It should be focused on everyone who games, because it's like, okay, we're forgetting that women game too? Or are we going to treat that that women game at about 50% of the industry thing differently now? So my stance was, if you've only played the game once, you're not a gamer. You've just someone who happened to play a game. But so many people have used that polling to say, oh yeah, I've played Pac-Man on mobile once, I'm a gamer. No. I've played Candy Crush a couple times, I'm a gamer. No, you're not. You like one game and one game specifically, you're not a gamer. You're just a fan of that game. Because a gamer is a hobbyist at the very least, which means that they involve themselves in the hobby of gaming. That's the whole point. If you don't involve yourself in the hobby of gaming and you just play something on your mobile phone just to pass the time, like you do it thoughtlessly, that's not the same thing. I know that's a side tangent, but I just wanted to get that out the way to say that. But if we were to use the results of that poll the way I've seen so many people push it, then why are we just focused on men playing video games? Or men's hobbies in general, because the poll was supposed to be men's hobbies. Which is weird that they would put down, and this is how you know it was bait, but trolling people online was a better hobby than playing video games. What? Like, that's, I was like, yeah, this is bait. This is bait. This is bait. 101, this is bait. And the bad thing is, I think whoever did it meant it to look like bait, and people just didn't get it. People didn't get it. There was a couple things that were way worse than playing video games that could be considered hobbies on that list. I was like, yo, no. It was like trolling people online. I think another one was stalking someone. I was like, oh, hell no. No. But because I'm a gamer and I clearly focus on the realm of gaming, let's get back to that. So, as I go through these replies, these responses, and see everybody being hyperbolic constantly, I'm sitting here like, why is no one? And it was one or two people that attempted the middle ground, but they did the middle ground as if they were standing on one of the extremes. So at that point, you're not really in the middle ground. You're more or less saying, oh, these are my acceptable conditions, but I don't see anyone being acceptable. You can't be in the middle ground if you're standing on the tippy tops of your mountains off in the distance. That's not how you get to the middle ground. You actually got to come to it. The middle ground to all of this is a couple different things. One, we share the hobby. We do it together. You see me playing, you're interested, come sit down with me. Let's talk about it. Let's get involved with it together. Middle ground option 2. While I'm doing the thing I like, but you want to spend time with me, but you don't want to interrupt what I'm doing, come sit down with me and do your thing next to me. Like if you want to doom scroll on TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, go ahead, do that. Be with me while you do that. Let's talk to each other and engage with each other while we do those things, unless specifically one of us tells the other, hey, give me a moment. I'm kind of focused on something. I don't want to talk right this second. I'll open that back up in a second. Again, communication, speaking, talking, letting each other know what's going on. There was a third option. I can't remember what I thought it was. I know there was another option. I just can't remember it right now. Gosh, see, it's like when you're dealing with these ridiculous arguments back and forth, it makes me But now let's go to the extreme that the gamer is constantly on their games all of the time. Let's think about the psychology behind video games. Video games are a form of escapism, just like reading a book, watching a television show, listening to music, hell, just rolling through your thoughts. It's a form of escapism. Why would a person be so heavily focused on a form of escapism? There may be an issue at hand that they're not willing to talk about at that moment, or are incapable of talking about at that moment. Gaming may be one of the things that helps them center themselves when they're in that state, which is why they focus so heavily on it. We're talking about if this is from the position of it not being some way to make money, but just at the hobbyist level. If that person has that problem, and it may potentially become an addiction, at that point, your best bet is to try to offer help. If you really think that it is ruining their life, if it is indeed ruining their life, then your best bet is to offer help, not turn it into a fight. Because if you turn it into a fight, they're just going to withdraw more, and then they're going to dive deeper into gaming, because then you become part of the reason they dive so deeply into it. And at that point, you're not helping anyone. You're not helping them, and you're not even helping yourself. And we've seen that people have perished in enough internet cafes just constantly gaming without stop because they didn't want to leave their form of escapism. That is something that needs to be worked on. We need people to be helped, not bludgeoned with your words. We need them helped. Making a person who has an addiction, or a not even necessarily addiction, but a strong problem, meaning it doesn't have to be at the point of addiction, because at the point of addiction, that means they can't stop. If someone can stop themselves, they may not be an addict, but they may also have a problem where they have a hard time regulating their emotions. They just might need help. Sometimes compassion can go a long way. It's not always the best thing in the world to go ahead and start shooting people down the moment you dislike something that they're doing. Unless that thing is harmful. Now, if that thing is harmful, shoot away. But if it's not harmful, then a gentler approach is likely better. And when I say harmful, I mean causing actual harm to someone. Specifically someone else besides the person that has the problem or addiction. Now, if you are emotionally hurt by something that person is doing, there can be a fix for that, but that comes along with working through compassion. And if you get that person help, in the long run, hey, they may even stop gaming altogether, or they'll invite you into the hobby with them, or they'll attempt, or just in the natural balance of things, they'll do it less and spend more time with you. But if the person isn't addicted to gaming, and we just have the other extreme where the partner just thinks that the hobby is quote unquote stupid and quote unquote pointless, you in and of yourself are probably a very controlling person. Probably. And not in a healthy way. Not like, oh, I can direct you to getting this done. You have an idea. I can push you to taking care of that idea, getting it taken care of. Or, hey, you said you wanted to do this thing. Let me be back there with you to push you to do it, because I know if you don't get pushed, you won't do it. But controlling in the sense that I have to tell you what to do and you have to listen to me. If I say jump, you say how high. If I say run, you say how far. If I say dig, you say how deep. That type of controlling. And at that point, you are the toxic person in the relationship. Hate to tell you, but you are the toxic person in a relationship, because this person is spending some downtime for themselves. And again, I'm talking about somebody who just maybe spends a little bit of time on there. They achieved what they wanted to do. They had a goal. They took care of it, got off the game. But you are upset about that. You're angry that they wanted to enjoy a little bit of time to themselves. That's a potential problem. That is a potentially large problem. And I do see that often is the case with some people, just based on how they word themselves. Well, you're not giving me the attention I want because you spent an hour on that game. That can critically be damaging for your relationship. Now, at that point, if you really truly just hate video games, like you might, let's drop the controlling aspect. If you just hate video games, you should not be with the person who games unless you are willing to leave them alone while they game. Because there are some times a relationship where someone hates your hobby, but they're not going to stop you from partaking in your hobby. They'll just go do something else. That's the healthy way to go about it. But if you truly hate gaming that much, and it bothers you that the person that you're with likes gaming, they like video games, they like the different stories they get into, they like the different worlds they get into, they like to get different characters they get to be, that's a you issue. That's a you issue. And the best thing you could probably do for them and yourself is just end the relationship. End the relationship, find somewhere else to be. Hopefully by that time y'all don't live together, because that'll be another struggle. Because chances are, if you hated gaming before you got with them and your opinion didn't change after you got with them and you know they still had the hobby, at that point, you just put yourself in a losing position. Because I can understand where the ultimatum's going to come. Well, it's either me or those video games. And guess what? Your ass going right out that door. I can tell you that right now. Your ass going right out that door. No questions asked. Like, you or the hobby I've had my whole life. Bye-bye. That's just going to happen. that is going to happen. Oh, man. I know I make light of things, but it's my process. So if you don't like it, I don't apologize. If you don't like it, you can go elsewhere. That said, you have to balance your life out. Obviously, not everything's going to be perfectly balanced like Thanos wanted it to be, but you're going to have to balance things out. Everyone has different stresses, everyone has different worries, everyone has different thoughts. The best way to work on things for your relationship, or even getting into a relationship, is communication up front. And that's not just with stuff like hobbies, that's everything. Your best bet is to communicate everything. Because you want to give yourself and the person that you're interested in or with the best choice they can have. If you don't want to get into a relationship with someone who plays video games, cool. They know that, you know that. At that point, you could separate and just potentially be friends. Or maybe you find yourself interested in the subject. You might want to learn more. That could be an advantage too. Just depends on how you look at it. But going to either one of these extremes is ridiculous. And no, those are not the only extremes. You do have the extreme where the gamer is the controlling one and puts the other person down. Again, that person's then the toxic person. Please get out of that relationship as soon as you can. Just as soon as you can. That's the best bet for your health completely. But it's looking at it, it's sitting down where you just have to think. What's best for me? What's best for them? And that's how you should have yourself in mind in any relationship anyway. What's best for me? What's best for them? And how do we get there? Those are the things you should be worried about. Those are the things you should talk about. Many people don't do that. And then we find the one thing we don't like about the person we're with, and then we start partner shaming and talking bad about them to other people and on the internet. And then when they find out, it ruins our relationship. That's the type of cycle we need to stop. And again, this is me just talking as a gamer. Not in any specified gender role or anything, because I think with that poll, that was the main bait, forcing the roles on gender. Because that's always going to start a debate and an argument. It's easy bait, too. That's the bad thing. It's super easy bait. Example, and this is not something I believe or think, but no woman can be as skilled as a top-tier male Call of Duty player. That is super easy bait. I could post that right now. I know I could post that right now, and I'd get tons of engagement from people calling me out. One, because it's a sexist statement. But they be calling me that. But then there would be the people that agree with that statement going ham onto why that's true. Bait plays with your perception. Bait uses your perception against you. Whether you find the statement to be true or not, you're going to interact with it because you will be emotionally compelled to do so. I know I was kind of baited when I saw that poll, and then I stopped and thought about it afterwards, and I was like, yeah, this is bait. Because when I first saw that poll, my thought was, okay, so military men, firefighters, paramedics, doctors, all of these guys are losers because they play video games. Because studies have shown that guys in high level careers or high level positions or respected positions also play video games. But after I made that comment, I stopped and thought about it. I was like, it's bait. It's bait. It's bait. It's bait meant to play with your emotions. And it's clear bait too. That's the bad thing. Because when I first responded to it, I didn't look at the whole image. I just saw what was at the top of it and responded. Then I had a moment to actually look at the whole thing. I was like, oh yeah, that's bait. That's baitery 101. Oh man. That's not even a word, but it sounded it sounded right. Baitery. Oh man. But if there's one thing to take away from this, discussion is that we just need more communication in general as humans. As people, we need more communication. And I think that that's something that everyone needs to work on. We work on communicating and work on getting to know people before you involve yourself in a relationship with them. But a lot of the toxic culture that is online has taught people to just jump into a relationship because you find yourself attracted to someone physically. Get yourself wrapped up in them in bed because you're attracted physically. Problem is nobody telling anybody anymore to get to know someone before they involve themselves with them at that level. Everybody's in too much of a rush, too much of a hurry to try to jump together and say, oh, I got me somebody. Like, no. Get to know the person you're interested in. That's the smart thing. That's always been the smart thing. And not to say you can't have differing views from someone and still be with them. That's not the problem. Getting to know someone lets you know things about them that lets you decide if that's who you want to be with. If you can handle those things about them. If you can't, then your best bet is to not be in a relationship with them physically or emotionally. If you can't handle what that person is or what they want, then you should not be with them in general. Man, should I just start like a relationship podcast? Because I swear this is stuff that should be common knowledge that doesn't get said anywhere. Or if it does get said, it gets drowned out. And that bit didn't just apply to gaming. That was overall. It applies to everything. Get to know the person you're interested in. Because if you're not interested in them beyond what you see physically, it's likely not going to work unless you are just that shallow. But that was really relationship advice from the Game Idea Guy. I think I'm done now. I know there's got to be some key factors I may have missed, but they weren't my major focus. It was just what I talked about. So if I did, sorry, that happens. But that's it. Thank you guys very much for listening in. Keep your eyes and ears out for more stuff from me. And until the next time, enjoy your games. Peace out.
This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy, and I'd like to thank you once again for tuning in. If you would be interested in supporting my efforts in content creation, please head on over to Amazon and look up The Game Idea Guy Presents Gaming Word Search, and you will find both Volume 1 and Volume 2 up for sale. Thank you very much once again, and I hope to be able to create more content for you in the future. Peace out.